Why did 9 experienced hikers suddenly flee their tent in the middle of a freezing night? Why were their bodies later found scattered across a mountainside, some with missing eyes and even a tongue? And why has the true cause of their deaths remained a mystery for more than 60 years? My friends, you're going to like this one. In February of 1959, a group of experienced hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set out on a winter expedition across the remote Ural Mountains in Soviet Russia. The team was led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, and their plan was ambitious: a 16-day trek covering more than 200 miles of harsh terrain. The hikers were young, skilled, and well prepared for the brutal winter conditions. But the group never returned. When they failed to check in as scheduled, concern quickly turned into alarm. A search party was launched on February 20th. Days later, rescuers discovered the group's campsite on the eastern slope of a mountain called Kholat Syakhl, a name from the local Mansi language that roughly translates to Dead Mountain. What they found there was deeply unsettling. The hiker's tent was still standing, but it had been slashed open from the inside. Inside the tent were boots, jackets, and supplies the hikers would normally never leave behind. Yet the group had clearly fled into the snow in the middle of the night, some barefoot, and others wearing only underwear. Temperatures that night were estimated to have fallen to around -13 degrees Fahrenheit. Searchers followed footprints leading downhill away from the campsite. About 1,500 feet away, near a tall cedar tree, they found the first 2 bodies. The hikers were poorly dressed for the cold and appeared to have died from exposure. Nearby, remnants of a small fire suggested they had attempted to survive through the night. Over the next several days, 3 more bodies were discovered scattered between the cedar tree and the tent. It appeared that some members of the group had tried to return to their shelter, but never made it. The final 4 hikers would not be found until months later, buried beneath several feet of snow in a ravine further down the slope. And that's when the mystery deepened. Several of the hikers had suffered severe injuries. One had a fractured skull, 2 had massive chest trauma described by investigators as similar to injuries from a powerful car crash. Another hiker was missing her tongue, 2 others were missing their eyes. Yet in several cases, there were no external wounds that explained the extent of the internal injuries. Even stranger, investigators discovered traces of radiation on some pieces of clothing. Despite the unusual injuries and circumstances, valuables such as money and cameras remained at the scene. Robbery was ruled out almost immediately. In May of 1959, the official Soviet investigation concluded with a vague explanation. The hikers, it said, had died due to what authorities described as a compelling natural force. But that explanation left far too many questions unanswered. Over the decades that followed, the Dyatlov Pass Incident became one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in modern history. The strange evidence surrounding the hikers' deaths sparked a wide range of theories. Some suggested the hikers were attacked by wild animals, others believed they may have encountered local tribesmen. More extreme ideas proposed secret military experiments, encounters with a yeti, or even extraterrestrial involvement. One of the more widely accepted explanations has been a snow slab avalanche. According to this theory, a sudden shift in the snowpack above the campsite may have threatened to collapse onto the tent. Fearing they might be buried alive, the hikers could have cut their way out of the tent and fled downhill to escape the danger. But critics of the avalanche theory point to several problems. The slope where the group had camped was relatively shallow. When rescuers arrived weeks later, the tent was still partially standing, and there was little evidence of a large avalanche in the area. In recent years, researchers have revisited the case using modern technology and computer modelling. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the investigation and again concluded that a snow slab avalanche combined with extreme weather conditions likely forced the hikers to abandon their shelter. Yet not everyone was convinced. Another theory has focused on possible military activity in the region during the late 1950s. At the time, the Soviet Union was conducting missile tests and other secret experiments across various remote locations. Witnesses in the surrounding region reported seeing strange fireballs moving across the sky around the time of the incident. Some researchers believe these lights may have been connected to rocket launches. A more recent hypothesis suggests that a failed launch of an R-12 ballistic missile could have played a role in the tragedy. These early rockets used liquid fuel systems that produce highly corrosive oxidizers, including nitric acid. If a malfunction occurred during launch, a cloud of nitric acid vapor could potentially have drifted across the mountains. Nitric acid vapor can cause severe respiratory distress, burning sensations, and disorientation. According to this theory, if such a cloud passed over the hikers' campsite, it could have triggered panic and confusion, causing the group to flee their tents suddenly in the freezing night. But like many other explanations surrounding Dyatlov Pass, the rocket theory remains controversial. There is still no definitive evidence confirming that a missile malfunction occurred on the night the hikers died. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the most puzzling tragedies in modern history. 9 experienced hikers set out on a winter expedition, a tent cut open from the inside, bodies scattered across a frozen mountainside, and injuries that still raise questions today. Modern researchers continue to study the case, but even those who have spent years examining the evidence admit something unsettling. The mystery may never be completely solved. So what really happened on that cold February night in 1959? An avalanche? A military accident? Or something no one has yet considered? If the story of Dyatlov Pass has taught us anything, it's that some mysteries refuse to stay buried.